blown off. You have the relationship between Rogue and Storm. And for me, when the new X-Men movie came out, I just looked at it as another run of X-Men. So I didn't see myself going, this isn't what I want. This isn't what I'm used to. I just thought to myself, hey, this is fun. Now we get another world of X to the comics, because I was just a big X-Men fan. So I haven't read the Bloodshot comics, and I should for next year. I'll do that so we can talk about it. But I guess this is just a different PG-13 world. And the characters are so likable that I guess you just got to look at it as a limited run of Bloodshot.
Yeah, I can see that. And I guess another thing that really, another thing related to not spoiling is that, like, there's a cottage industry right now around spoilers and just dissecting anything and everything actors say about MCU movies. None of that exists around Bloodshot.
None.
Like, there's none. There's absolutely no way I'm going to get spoiled at all. like the most spoiler is going to be if I watch the trailer.
In the trailer,
so that's added to it.
In the trailer for WandaVision, she wears a Fog Hat shirt. Fog Hat is in Dazed and Confused. That means that Wooderson is going to be the villain in WandaVision season 2.
This is a sidebar, but I really couldn't stand the just breathless theorizing and overanalysis of WandaVision this last couple of weeks. I think the show's great. I love the show, but I have gone ham blocking accounts on my social media for just the slightest infractions of it.
that in that scene, WandaVision takes 10 steps, and if you know that's the 10 rings, it's like, wait, what? But I mean, people read it, I guess, and people love to do that. But yeah, you're right. There's none of that around Bloodshot. It's just, and also you can't really spoil Bloodshot either. Vin Diesel gets an well, yeah, you know what? This would have been spoiled for me if I knew that the beginning wasn't real. Because that was so clever. When you learn that he has the cow killer, which is in No Country for Old Men. So I guess you could have spoiled this for me to a certain extent. But I don't know. Real quick. Sorry, David. When you first watch this movie, when he meets back up with his wife and they have their sex scene and everything, you're feeling a little like, oh no, what's going on here? This is, I don't know about this. But then in hindsight, when you know the whole plan and the plot, it makes it so much better. Does that make sense to you? Do you think that turned off people in the beginning and then they just clicked off their brains and didn't pay attention anymore?
Yeah, I think it absolutely did. Luckily, I was on board for either. Can't dissuade me. What I would say is that the beginning of the film, there is a slight greenish tint that makes it appear like a different format than the rest of the movie. Especially that first like battle scene, the edges of the screen are sort of greenish blurry, and I didn't notice that until my second time through. So at that point I was like, oh, they tried to hint that this wasn't real, but they didn't want to make it avert.
I still haven't noticed that.
It's very slight. It's very, very slight.
Oh, I love that.
But I think if they would have done like just a couple of weird things in it, like randomly have a screen jump or a skip in the tech, that would have maybe better set people's expectations. Or like you have someone start and they just hit a start button and you don't see who it is, like just like a robot hand. Because you're right. I think it really messed with people's heads and didn't put them in a right mindset for the rest of the film.
Do you want to know what took me out of it a little bit during the rewatch?
What?
So we're currently on Deep Blue Sea, the podcast. We are covering Deep Blue Sea 2 now. And in the beginning of that movie, there are these shark finners, and one of them is played by Tamer Burjak, who is the mercenary who gets killed by Ray in the beginning of the film when he wants the helicopter. Oh. And they filmed in Cape Town, which is where he lives. But since I've been spending so much time, actually, the dock where they shoot, where the pier, that's in Deep Blue Sea too, actually. It's such a beautiful area, holy moly. But it just took me out because he gets killed in the beginning of Deep Blue Sea 2, which I love the Deep Blue Sea world, and then he gets killed by Vin Diesel, who I'm a huge fan of. And he's also in Dread getting killed. This guy gets killed in some of my favorite movies. So I just had to throw that out there because I was like, my guy from Deep Blue Sea 2 is in this movie. And then he gets wiped out. but I'm glad he's getting roles. So that took me out of it. And Vin's helmet. The helmet.
Vin's helmet's a little weird.
That's the one. Yeah, I hate hating on it, but that helmet doesn't look right to me.
Yeah. So I have a question for you about Vin Diesel as an actor in this role. Do you think that any like other actors could have done this? Because like when I think about Bloodshot, I think it's a perfect vehicle for Vin Diesel. And what I mean by this is like the action is sort of one directional. It's like you point him towards something and he goes and he just takes a bunch of damage. He doesn't have to be fast. He doesn't have to be quick. He has to be, as you said previously, a tank. Like, are there other actors, do you think, who could have done this?
It's a great question. What's interesting is you never. What I like about Vin in action scenes, I never feel like he's putting on an air of toughness. Maybe I'm just so used to Vin being tough in movies. So you believe that he could do all that. And there is an interesting openness to his character, which adds to it. And he does get beat up a lot. So is there another actor? Okay. So the way I see Bloodshot's a tank, correct? So we can't Jack Reacher it. Yeah. And as much fun as you have with the first Jack Reacher film, Tom Cruise is much smaller than the actor. So I'm trying to think of someone who is big and kind of burly, right? We're thinking of a big old character. This is random, and it's a Too Fast, Too Furious poll, but Cole Hauser in Yellowstone is an absolute just brick, and he has an interesting sentimentality to his character. He's real likable, but he's a murderer. So I think Cole Hauser now, beefy Cole Hauser, could maybe pull this off, but I don't know if he could be the interesting. What makes his character work is he's silent, but he's a different type of silent than Bloodshot. So I don't.
It's hard. And here's my thing. Like, I think a lot of other actors who were given this role would have tweaked the dialogue to make Bloodshot quippy, right? Make him funny or try to make him funny, but that's not the character. The character is essentially a put upon dude who's just like, I guess I'm gonna walk through this gunfire because I have to. He doesn't really want to do it. And I started thinking about it, and I kind of think Ben Affleck could do it, like beefy Ben Affleck, because he's big.
Whoa.
And he's not like a martial arts dude. He's not lithe. Yeah, I think it'd be a really interesting role for him.
And when he says thank you, I don't think he would do so with a smirk on his face. So when Ray says thank you to Lamorne, he's not pleased with himself. He listens and he says it. I could see Ben Affleck doing that, but it has to be beefy Ben Affleck, like the way back Ben Affleck or Batman v Superman. No, that's a good poll. That's an interesting poll.
Yeah, and then also related to this role, and particularly Vin, is like I started thinking about this movie in terms of marketing. It led me down this rabbit hole of thinking about how there are only so many actors out right now. If their name is attached, I would go see that movie, regardless of what it is. And Vin Diesel is one of those. And it feels like that type of actor doesn't really exist anymore. And the ones that we do have are all older. So it's like, Nick Cage does a movie, I'm going to go see it regardless of what it is because it's going to be wild. Vin Diesel does it because it's like he sort of hits my sweet spot of action and like camp combined. Mila Jovovich, I would definitely go see anything she's in.
Walton Goggins is one of those for me.
Walton Goggins is a great actor who doesn't get enough respect.
Scott Adkins. Scott Adkins is someone I watch, but no one else does. I'm weird in that regard. Yeah,
but it's sort of like he is one of those actors who's like, if his name's attached to it, he's the main draw. It's not the story or whatever it's in it. He is the draw of the film.
Yeah. No, it's who else?
Keanu Reeves.
Emily Blunt.
Potentially, yeah.
I liked her a lot in Wild Mountain Time. Michael Pena. I just keep saying people, but no, you're right. It's. For me, look, we bought this movie for whatever price it was when it went on video. I just, how much is it? $30? Bought. Like, it's one of those no second thought purchase for like when a Vin Diesel movie comes out. Like, I own all of his movies. So that's an interesting point. And what do you think it is about him that we like? What?
Yeah, so this is sort of touching on what I wanted to talk about The Rock versus Vin Diesel. And so I'll try to talk about Vin a little bit here. So what I like about Vin is like one, he seems authentic in himself as an actor. His roles aren't always very authentic, so like he gives off this faux masculine persona that is camp, and I like that. But him as a person, I also like because it seems like he gives people chances. He likes the material he's working on. He takes legitimate chances in his work as well. This is something I don't think people give him enough credit for. He does R-rated action movies. You know how rare that is now? Yeah.
Very rare.
So yeah, I mean, like the Fast and Furious, most of them are PG-13, but like Pitch Black is R. All the Pitch Black stuff's R. This could have easily been R, and I kind of wish it was, but that's okay. But he does interesting stuff.
What
Go
I?
ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go for it.
And I was just saying that's why I like him, because he has this like he's in on the joke of what he's producing is what I feel like is happening when I see him. He knows that he's not this larger than life masculine early 2000s character, and so he's like a little bit of winking at the screen, and he has enough talent to pull it off.
No, absolutely. Yeah, he pulls off the wink. He can do that. And I think there's more of an openness to him as well. Mm-hmm. So as much as I love the 90s, 80s, Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Wesley Snipes, all that, I like the openness to him in a lot of his roles. It kind of reminds me of JCVD a little bit. There's a weird openness to a lot of JCVD's characters. He's like a sensitive dude. And I see that in Vin as well. And I also like that Vin he gives people chances. I love that the finale of this movie, it's Lamorne Morris as a British hacker who had just gotten off of what, Game Night, but also a long run on New Girl. You have Lamorne Morris, and then you have Isa Gonzalez, who, yeah, she was really cool in Baby Driver. I'm really happy that she was in I Care a Lot. But those are our three heroes. You have Vin, Isa Gonzalez, and Lamorne Morris. And Nathalie Emmanuel of the Fast franchise says that he's very open. He wants to bring in diverse groups of actors. He wants James Wan to direct. He wants F. Gary Gray to direct. He wants Justin Lin to direct. I like how he's inclusive with this casting. He gives a lot of opportunities to people who don't normally have those opportunities. He pursues geeky pursuits. I mean, The Last Witch Hunter is the ultimate geeky movie, and I dug it. And
we're gonna do that, Mark. We'll get to it eventually, but that's one I have on my list that I really, really want to do.
Yeah, he's just I don't know what. And okay, I'm gonna go off on this, and we're gonna have to do it eventually. But for me, the whole beef with Dwayne Johnson, we weren't there. We don't know what's going on. We just know what he said about Vin being late and not showing up. But this is the same thing about the Blade franchise. So Wesley Snipes builds Blade 1 and 2. He is one of the biggest. He really helps kick comic book films into the next world with Blade, and Marvel got helped out a lot from it. The problem is, Blade is a super quiet, cool character. But in the third one, they bring in motor mouths and young kids who talk all the time to be on screen with a guy who's barely audible. So it's just a weird mixture. And then Patton Oswalt came out and gave him crap about being in character. But Blade went on, I think, Conan or Letterman in character as Blade. So all these people are giving him crap about being Blade, but he had been doing that for 2 films. And he was portrayed to be the bad guy when he's the person who carried the franchise through those films and into Blade Trinity. In the Fast and Furious, that Vin came back in the 4th one. He wasn't there for 2 and 3, which I love. I don't love that he wasn't in them, but I love both those films. The 4th one was a success with Justin Lin directing. Then they said, hey, let's bring in Dwayne Johnson. Vin Diesel said, let's bring in Dwayne Johnson for this role. Because Dwayne, he had a good run, but he wasn't on the best run when he made this movie. He wasn't this is what made him a global superstar. This is what helped him. Let's say help him. It didn't make him. And so you have Vin bringing him in, and then they have this issue together, but it's still Vin's franchise. And then they went off and made a new movie with Dwayne Johnson. And I just see that as a lot of disrespect. I don't know anything about the characters or the behind the scenes stories, but I don't know. I could see Vin's annoyance. Like, this is his baby. He brings people in to complement the movie. He gives them chances, and then he's portrayed to be the bad guy. But I read about Lamorne Morris. Isa Gonzalez is a huge fan of his. Jeff Davis was a huge fan of his in all the comments. So Nathalie Emmanuel, he flew to her birthday and surprised her and sang to her in front of a bunch of people like a couple of years ago. And
That's
everything you
totally
hear,
dumb. Oh God.
everything you hear, people just love this guy. He's been really good for a lot of people. And I don't know. I hate the feud because you have this guy out there who's making different stuff with diverse casts, diverse